I don't even know how to say good evening to everyone in all this chaos and crisis that we're seeing in this world. Hello, a little after 5 o'clock. I'm sorry for getting started a little bit late. I want to give everybody a few moments. Hello to my Instagram friends. I am running this live tonight on my Facebook and my YouTube page. So I have a very special guest here with me. He is somebody over the years who has been a friend to many of us Iranians and has talked to me through many protests that we've seen over the years. And if you want to see him and you want to see the entirety of this interview, which we are live right now on this Tuesday evening, I ask that you jump over to my Facebook page, or we are also streaming live on YouTube. I'm going to leave the Instagram up for just a few minutes, just so that you can hear my voice. I don't think you're going to be hearing his voice very well on Instagram. So, again, if you want to hear his voice, Sanaz, hello. Amber, my beautiful friend, hello. Ellie, I see your broken hearts. And before we get into this interview, if we can just take a moment right now, and I don't know about you, but I'm breathing a lot throughout the day just to get through every single piece of news that keeps coming in. It's unbelievable. It's heart-wrenching. تمام دلامون داغونه. قلبای ما داغونه. There is so much to talk about. I really don't even know where to start. I'm very rarely at a loss of words, and I go back and forth between Persian and English um, because I want my non-Iranian friends, who I want to thank. Isabel, I don't know if you're Iranian. I know Amber is not Iranian. Thank you for not leaving over the past few weeks as I stepped into an arena with my brothers and sisters in Iran. You know, many of you, I've been in the news business for 27, 28 years, and I've tried everything I can in this time to show you the beautiful part of the Iranian people, the beautiful part of the culture, because as many of you are seeing, we have a very, very evil and nasty regime that is not representative of the people who are there. And that's why I cooked, and that's why I danced, and that's why I laughed, and that's why I did Nowruz, because I wanted you to see this part of Iran. I wanted you to see the beautiful part of Iran. And no matter how much of the beauty that we see, the reality is that there is a very dark side, a very evil side. I don't even know what words to use anymore to explain the horror that we've seen in the past 2 weeks. Um, Anahita, I know, Erfan Soltani, the first name that we are now hearing, پسر جوون که گرفتنش, and I'm going to say this in English again because I know most people here speak both languages, that is now in danger of execution very, very soon. So if we can, a moment just for all the lives that are lost. And I know we've reported 2,000. I know, and you know, I know, and you know, we are talking much more than that. We know what this regime is about. We know the value that they have for life, which is nothing. And we know that those numbers will climb as it gets confirmed. And I hope you understand that for me as a journalist, I can't just take anything that I see off of social media, even though I know in my heart of heart it's truth. But until it's confirmed in our rule book, in the rules that we run with in our field, I can't come out and say that over 20,000 people have been murdered and slaughtered in Iran. I can't say that officially. Can Shali, the young woman you know over the many years who wasn't born in Iran but has always had a deep tie to the country tell you that's what I think happened? Yes, that's what I think happened. That's what I think happened. And my heart breaks. And I've received already so many messages, and I've seen so many pictures and so many people from Iran. I don't think the internet is fully connected yet, so I doubt there's many people from Iran here. If for any reason anybody from here is actually tuned in from Iran, اگر از ایران داره تماشا میکنی که اینترنتتون وصل شده، که من فکر نکنم کاملا وصل شده که میتونی یه لایو انجام بدین و نگاه بکنین. Please tell us. عارف جان، عارف عزیز من، عارف عزیز و تی جان قربان، همشری عزیز، تسلیت میگم. ببین من اشکام الان در میاد. I am so sorry, Arif John. Arif posted today. Arif is a very talented musician, a very talented violinist. If you go to Moin's concert, you would know that we have a hamshari on stage with him that plays the beautiful violin. And he shared the news today that his cousin was killed in the protests. And tasliyat migam be shama Arif John. I am so sorry. I don't have any other words to tell you that I'm so sorry. امیدوارم آرامش پیدا بکنین شما خانوادتون in this really, really hard time. And I hope, and I'll say this in English, I hope that all the lives that are lost and all the blood that has been spilled on the street. قیافه اون بچه هایی که من دیدم توی اون خیابونا، جیغای مادرها رو که من شنیدم، I hope they will all be looked as heroes and as people that create freedom for millions and millions and millions of people, not only in Iran, but a sense of peace all around the world. With that said, I want to bring a guest because that peace all around the world, and we've talked about it, and I know that all Iranians are hands on deck to try to help, and we're fighting this thing from phones and whatever which way that we can. But really, what happens in Iran over the next few days, as we'll talk about what President Trump has said, will have an impact on the entire world and our future and our kids' future. So, with that said, I want to bring in our political professor, Rick Epps. He's a Middle East specialist. He has been a friend to us here, my friends on Instagram. If you want to hear, I'm going to keep this on for a little bit so you can hear my voice. I don't know if you're going to hear Rick's voice, but if you want to see Rick's face and you want to hear his answers in its entirety, you want to go to my Facebook or my YouTube page. Rick.
Good morning. Good evening, Shally. I know. It's we were sitting having these conversations just a couple of years ago and watching it, all the brutality of the regime, all the lives that were lost, because of Masha, and to see the regime again showing its true colors, and to see, of course, an expected reaction. Nobody. This is not an unexpected reaction. And to see them hide behind their lies is what's so troubling. I mean, the misinformation that gets spread, just and I just don't want to see the world look at Iranians and what's happening there and look at it for the opportunities that it provides them economically. I want them to look at it from the humanitarian perspective and look at the lives that are being lost every single day while they wait and play politics with the lives of the people who are there. That's the part that's really most is troubling to me as a human being on planet Earth.
I don't know where to start. I mean, I was thinking the other day, I talking to my husband who is very emotional. Everybody right now who you talk to, Rick,
Yeah.
has a story. And a few years ago, when I went to some of the protests that were happening, um, I had a moment that I looked out to the sea of Iranians who now call the United States home. And I had this moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like all of these people were robbed. They were literally robbed of their home, their family, their lives. Like my story is like this compared to what. Oh, Rick, I think I lost you. I may have lost Rick. I'm gonna give him a second to there you are. Hold on a sec. Let me bring you back. There you are.
Yeah, sorry.
Um that they just didn't get to grow up in their homeland. Like I tell you something very interesting. Over the past, there's even some bickering happening even within the Iranians right now in the community saying, well, you don't live in Iran, like stay out of here. It's our problem, we'll fix it. And I'm like, no, it's everybody's problem, dude. It's not just your problem, it's everybody's problem. It's the problem of the people that had to leave. It's the problem of the people that didn't get a chance to grow up there. It's the problem of every American, every European, because we all know what that regime is tied to. We all know what that regime is behind. So, wrong, wrong, wrong. It's your problem, it's our problem, and it needs to get fixed.
Well, Shelley, you brought up something really interesting, and I can share with you when I was in my undergrad years at UCLA, and I remember several of my classes. There were many Persian students, Iranian students who had just got out of the country barely with their lives, whose parents, some of their parents lost their lives,
Oh,
and they were exiles coming to campus, and that's when I think my first real like the reality of what was really taking place touched my life many decades ago, and to see what they went through and to see their hurt and what it had done to them and their families. um, I agree with you, and I empathize with not only you, and I know how much it hurts you because we've talked many times about the impact of on the lives of the people and the slaughter and what these people who I don't even consider them human anymore, who can
they're
do
not
this
human. Let's just
they're not,
establish
they're
that.
really
Most people, they keep asking me, I'm like, you can't even call them animals.
no.
Because an animal in some way I still think has like a conscious or a feeling. What are these people? What is this?
Yeah, I mean it's amazing how human beings have a propensity to dehumanize people to a point where they can justify killing women and children, just because they have a voice and want to speak up about issues that concern their daily lives. And I think what's happening right now, particularly in Iran, is like I said, this is more than just about the economics. The economics is just the next catalyst. There was going to be another catalyst anyway after Misha, right? That was only going to be the tip of the iceberg. It was inevitable. The embers were still there. The feelings were still there. We talked about the fact that there was going to be and needed to be a morning after. I talked to you very candidly about the fact that people would die.
We talked
I didn't
about
say
that
that.
many times. Yeah.
Yeah, that and that the regime is going to see how long people will stay and fight, and they will think they can outlast the people. And this is the first time this feels different than the previous what I will still call a revolution uh, that happened a few couple of years ago. This is much more. It has a much more nationalistic fervor. It's spread further across the country. The people are tired, and at some point, and this could well be that point. Th- where we could start to something dramatic is going to have to change in order for if the regime was going to even attempt to survive. But I don't there's a point here where I'm about 50-50 on whether this regime can survive what's
You're
taking place
still at
right now.
50-50, Rick?
Well, just because I know, I've been studying Iran for 40 plus years, and I've seen that, how they play politics. And, I would like to say, I would love to say it's less than that. 50-50, I think, is a pretty good number because I was less optimistic the last time, especially because when I saw seeing people eventually got tired of seeing their loved ones killed. So they just kind of went back to their lives and things kind of calmed down. I don't see this calming down like that. And now, so the idea of Trump's comments, saying that help is on the way and not articulating clearly what that's going to mean, um, gives Iranian people a lot of potential hope, but without having any real definitive plan in place of what's going to take place, it leaves them in sort of this sort of political vacuum, if you would, or social vacuum, because it's one thing to say that, but now the action has to follow, and we don't know what that action is going to look like. I know that he has called on the Iranian people to take over their
I have
institutions,
his
and
comment. I'm gonna put it up because this broke
yeah,
while I was on the morning show
yeah,
this morning. So for anybody that would have missed it, on Truth Social early this morning, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, posted Iranian patriots keep protesting, and then in bold letters, take over your institutions, which, by the way, he repeated all of this in a news conference. He said the same exact thing today.
yeah.
Save the names of your killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. I have canceled all meetings with Iranian officials. This is the part I was going to ask you about, until the senseless killing of protesters stops. So I wanted to know what that until means. Help is on the way. Make Iran great again. And he signed it. So the one thing that I want to ask you, and I partly feel like I know the answer, but you've been
Yeah.
studying Iran for much longer than me. I will never pretend to be an expert in Iran. I am not. Everybody's asking, where is the help? Why are you keep saying help is on the way? We've been saying help is on the way. Like Lindsey Graham's been saying it, Donald Trump's been saying it now for a few days. So why is there a pause in the help?
Well, there are a couple of reasons why. First of all, there are politics involved. And politics trump people's lives in the world we live in today, even amongst Western democracies. The amount of action they take is always sits. So, for example, what happens? The Security Council, UN Security Council, sits down with the Group of Five, which is of course the U.S., Great Britain, France, Germany, China, Russia. They sit down and they have a conversation about, well, okay, so what's the best path forward? Can we all agree on a path forward? How do we move forward without destabilizing?
Rick, it
One of
says,
the
there you are. Sorry, I lost
well,
you
one
for
of
a
the
second. It said you
That's
muted
okay. So my
yourself.
Yeah, somebody tried to call in, and so,
Oh,
but I would say that what. So now we find ourselves in this struggle, because certainly, the foreign minister of Qatar is certainly trying to help mitigate this and prevent any further escalation. But there's a risk in not escalating any further either. So, for example, if let's say they de-escalate, well, where does that put the Iranian people? Or what happens if if the Ayatollah says, you know what, we're gonna ease up on the economy, we're gonna make it a little easier, people don't have to be, inflation will lower, and everybody will be fine. Do people then stop fighting and then they go back to their lives, or do they still have to recognize that that's just a placating of what to make them hopefully lose the will to fight? And so even with Trump saying, well, until they ceased all this violence, then we're going to continue these threats. Well, talk is talk and action is action. And many bellicose statements that come out, sound wonderful, and they certainly give people hope. I think it's even more disingenuous to give the Iranian people hope if it's not coming. I think that's even worse than giving them hope than just saying, hey, we're not going to help you up front.
right.
It's
But
even more
okay, but I
disingenuous to say you're going to help and then back up. Mhm.
yeah, okay, a few things. I want to just, I left my Instagram open.
Uh,
Hello, my Instagram friends. You are down here, and Facebook and YouTube, you are up here. This interview Instagram is being run on my Facebook and my YouTube page. So if you want to watch Rick Epps, who is a Middle East specialist, he's our political professor. He comes on the Fox 5 morning show all the time to talk all things politics. He's been here live talking about Iran with me over the years. You will not hear him here. I have to address it, Rick, because everybody keeps asking. We can't see you. We can't hear you. I mean, I can show you Rick. That's Rick if you want to see him. Rick, say hi to my Instagram friends. They
Hey,
can see you
everyone.
now. All right. And if you want to hear him, but I'm leaving this open because I want you to hear what I'm saying and I want you to be able to talk to one another and speak here. So, Instagram, you can keep running and talking and sharing information with each other. If you want to watch this interview, please go to Shali Zamarodi's Facebook page or Shal Z is my YouTube page. Rick, we're dealing with a different president. Rick, this
Yeah.
is not just any president. This is a president that I woke up like 2 weeks ago. All of us did and said, "What? We just did what to Venezuela? What? What?"
Well, but here's the thing. I mean, Venezuela is small potatoes compared to Iran. I mean, and I don't mean that no disregard to the Venezuelan situation, but Venezuela did not have the capability, and neither does Iran militarily. They can say all they want about they're prepared for, any military action. That they are not prepared for any military action like the United States could bring to them. That's the problem there. So it's great to say that, but no, they don't have the capability to deal with that either. But it's a
Iran, you're
very
saying
different
doesn't
situation.
military. Iran does not. Sorry, I want to understand
That's
what you're
right.
saying. Iran
Yeah.
does not militarily have the capability of all like this stuff that they're throwing that we're going to hit you hard or you're going to this and that. They don't have what it takes to back up their threats.
They don't have what it takes to back up their threats against the United States and our capabilities, militarily speaking.
So
They don't have the
then
weapons that we have. So it's a veiled threat, and it works in some ways. I'm not saying that they don't have weapons and they can't do some certain amount of damage, but when it push comes to shove, they don't have the capability to deal with the our capabilities, militarily speaking.
So then, what is the holdup? And again, I think I know the answer to this, but
Yeah,
that's what most people are asking is what's taking
yeah.
so long? So what is happening behind closed doors right now in their meetings? If it could be a fly on the wall, what are they talking about? They're trying to figure out what happens after because this is very
Well, that's
complicated.
certainly so part of it is regime change, right? So you figure there's multiple apparatuses that are all meeting either separately, then they have to figure out how to meet collectively. So each one of the nation states that are supporting this uprising, right, or this revolution, are having discussions within their own security councils independently, and then the United States has to deal with the State Department as well as the Department of what used to be Department of Defense, now called Department of War, but they're also having those conversations about, okay, so what if we commit one action, what's the result? So there's a cause and effect for every action you take. So if we go in there and we help expedite, the ouster of the Ayatollah or in the Council of the Guardian, and we get rid of some people some of the military leaders, who basically only fortify because they get paid by the government, by the religious leadership to toe the line. That's where their loyalty lies, is because their families, most of them live very well and live outside of Iran, and that's how they're able to keep the loyalty of the military, which keeps them from being overthrown anyway, which is the case for every Middle East country. They only survive by virtue of if the military is protecting the leader, whoever that leader is. So in this case, if there was a threat and the military of the Iranian military rather was in danger or was subverted, that would really be the undoing of the regime completely at that point. Now, I say that with this in mind. The caveat is this again, and we started to allude to it a moment ago, which is the morning after, and there's always a morning after. And the question is, so then I'm sure, like if you're in our U.S. administration and in the back rooms, it's probably like, okay, who's going to be the next leader? Could it
So
be Pahlavi?
yeah,
Who's going to sit in the seat
l-
next?
let's talk about that back room, Rick. Did you hear the news that broke just like within the last 2 hours? I mean, I don't know how confirmed this is, that Steve
Yeah,
Witkoff had an unofficial meeting with the Crown
yeah,
Prince Reza Pahlavi over the weekend.
yeah.
And
So that's partially
that's the
about,
first time, right, that they've like officially
yeah, that they've
if
officially met. Yes. And part of that discussion, I guarantee you, is okay. So, what is your vision for the end of this? And some of it has to do with the people. A lot of it has to do, and I'm going to be very candid. We live in a capitalist system, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do also with the money and the oil.
money.
Because nobody does anything without it. What's in it for us? That's the unfortunate. We may use the humanitarian guise to justify coming in and helping, but we rarely get involved unless there's something really, that's in it for us. So with that, I will say that Pavlovi is certainly an interesting candidate, certainly in transitory government. But here's the thing that I will say, Shelley, that's very dangerous about all this, and whether it's Iran or any other country. I spoke about this regarding Iraq many years ago when the whole Arab Spring. If you take a country's infrastructure apart, whether it's I mean, even in ours, you take the executive, legislative, judicial branch, toss it out the window. If you don't have the ability to build a civil society, rebuild the public administration institutions of a country, then it's going to devolve into chaos like what we saw in Iraq. You can't get rid of everyone and then say, hey, here's democracy, make it work. If you don't have a history of democracy, it is very difficult to walk in and say, let's give you all political participation when there's been no history of it. The people have been repressed so long. It's like there's a process of learning and growing. And I think that Pahlavi certainly is a very viable candidate in terms of transition, at the very least, to try to get the country moving back in a direction where you're going to have people who are more understanding of, especially those who are not politically aware, understanding of what they're voting for, the open elections, all those kind of things that should conceptually work in democracies. The people in Iran deserve a chance to make those institutions work. And the real thing is going to be, and the U.S. has not been very good at this, and I've said this the other day on the news, they've not been very good at nation building. So I hope that if we decide to help support whoever might be the next person, if that day comes, and hopefully it will, that they will make sure that they don't completely tear apart the institutions of how the daily operations of the country work, because that will lead to that's even worse. The morning after could be even worse.
It could be worse. But
Yeah,
the reality is, and you and I have seen these protests over the years, I have never heard the crown prince's name be chanted and shouted with
yeah,
such force ever
yeah,
in all these years. What has changed? Do I mean, because this is also from a generation that really does not know him. He left at a very young age.
yeah,
They don't know the Shaw's era from the era
yeah,
from his father. Um, but what they see is someone standing before it and hit them and them calling for help of transition. I feel like we underestimate the youth of Iran, Rick, and
mhm.
a country that, what are the statistics? Like 70% of them are under the age
The
of
age of
like
30.
30 years old.
Yeah, yeah,
They know what democracy is. They see it. They see it
yeah,
happening around the world.
yeah,
So it is very realistic that if someone is in there that can help bring that all together, that they can live in a democracy. And I completely agree with you. Our democracy here in the United States, ooh, so fragile, so fragile. And if it's not practiced and protected, I mean, it could disappear in a moment. So you really have
yeah,
to be able to understand that. But I find it um, just amazing to just hear.
yeah,
And by the way, I can tell all of our friends here on Instagram are shouting with their words, and they are trying to get our attention about the execution that is supposed to happen very, very soon. So they've started the
yeah,
execution process of what will happen to I think I read today, Rick, almost 20,000 people have been
yeah,
arrested. 20,000 arrested. And that's just numbers that are just coming out. So we will get to
yeah,
the executions in just a moment, but I want to just touch on this. Tomorrow morning, I did an interview with Her Royal Highness Princess Noor. She is the granddaughter of the last Shah of Iran, and we will run that tomorrow morning on Fox 5. And she had some really emotional and powerful things to say, and we'll run that tomorrow on Fox 5. Um,
Well,
can we get
let me
back
add,
to
let me add,
what are we waiting
let,
for?
let me add something. Yeah, let me add something about the Shah that I think is really interesting about the young people that you mentioned briefly. I think it's really one of the best things about Iran in terms of the youth. First of all, the youth are well educated for the most part. Population of Iranians is very well educated. Um, I think they have a really strong potential political socialization and understanding by not having the right to vote and being subverted. It's continually that they would be more cognizant to vote and be more responsible about who's sitting in the seat. I think really in Iran, it's really going to be about, again, and I mentioned this to you earlier before we came on, about, make sure the Constitution is written in such a way that of who's going to be, who's at the top of the chain. Is you're going to have a religious leader at the top, or are you going to have your secular government be at the top, with, and allow some mechanism for the religious leaders to have some say politically, but not at the level where they have now. That'll be up for the Iranian people to decide. However, it is important to note that I have great hope for the youth. If the youth, and I know, we know that a lot of them have lost their lives. They're going to try and use them as examples to scare the death out of people from rising up. But as I said, when people have nothing to lose, then losing your life for your country is I don't even like to use the word, but it's like, when your cause is just, and if it brings about change, that we, as I've said before, we know, and this is historically anywhere in the world, that change requires sacrifice, and it breaks my heart that people will have to die in this process. But I hope that the Iranian people don't lose hope and don't give up because
Mm.
of what's about to take
Uh,
place in the next few hours.
yeah, I don't think they're gonna lose hope. You and I can agree that Iranians are the most beautiful people. They are so smart. They are brilliant. I heard recently an interview with Benjamin Netanyahu, regardless of what your political beliefs were, but he had said something. He's just like, what Iranians are, I think he said something, are just brilliant, but when they leave Iran, and I look at the Iranians here just in the United States, and we're
Yeah,
talking about the creators of Uber and
yeah,
Google and so many just successful companies, politicians,
yeah,
your doctors, by far the
yeah,
most right successful immigrant group that has come out of a country and reestablish somewhere else. Now
yeah.
imagine what is in Iran. Imagine in that
Exactly.
90 million people that are in Iran, the amazing people that are there.
Well, amazing the potential that exists there, right? And if with democratic institutions in place, with people being able to excel and grow and expand on one side, expand the economy, expand the social safety net to make sure that people are protected, build an infrastructure that really is legitimately for the people. It's unlimited. I mean, yes, oil. We call them a rentier state, which means that their one primary commodity is oil that builds their economy is built on. So they basically kind of live and die by the oil. But the goal is to make sure that oil is not that in the future, right? To make sure that you take a step away from just being reliant, just that being your primary commodity to live on. The people are there. They've got a brilliant group, a brilliant society of people. Branch out into other areas so to make sure you can diversify yourselves and be more potentially independent and not reliant on other countries to try and control you, vis-a-vis your economy or by squeezing you that way. Because right now, like for example, one of the things on the table is to try to put more sanctions on Iran, and they've already got their foot on their neck and it's halfway cracked. So ultimately, the people that get hurt are the everyday people, not the leadership. But what it does do is that by squeezing that, it makes the people further step up and want to revolt. And I think that's why they think in their heads, by stoking the flames of people not having anything and struggling to survive, that that's the catalyst for making real change. So I think there's going to be there are interesting conversations going on very privately in these organizations or in these countries in the back halls of the White House or in the back halls of the various security councils, the United Nations, about what's the best path forward. Of course, we know there are those countries that are on the opposite side of this. Russia, China, and several other countries that are on the opposite end of this, and because they have vested interest in Iran, and they don't want and by the instability that's being created, they feel like they're going to lose their foothold. Um, so this is it's going to be a very it's a very stressful time because, and like you, Shelley, this is the first time, as opposed to the last the last revolt, this feels different to me. That's why I don't think this is over. Uh, I don't want it to be a time when they just placate and the Iranian people allow for their government to placate them and throw them a bone, if you would, and say, okay, we've now lowered inflation, so now you can, it's not
Uh,
72% anymore. We'll lower it down to something that you can afford to survive a little bit, and then people stop fighting, or stop standing up, because that's what usually happens when even in our own country, that's what happens when people economically feel a little better, then they stop complaining to the government, and that's what happens in most countries. And I don't want
yeah,
to
but
see
I
the
think
Iranian
aren't we
people give
past?
up
I
on
think
that.
we're past that, Rick. We're
I hope
past
so.
that.
I hope so.
How are they going to go back from this? There's like nothing. The economy's
Yeah,
collapsed. The
yeah,
water is drying up. Somebody
yeah,
just told me yesterday, they just got back from Iran a few weeks ago. They're like, you can't even walk in the street. The pollution is so bad.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
unless
the
you're
entire infrastructure is in a horrible shape. You're absolutely right.
so
And I think the people are finally. I think that's why I don't really see it going back. I don't want to see it go back. I don't say that happily because I don't want not because not seeing don't want to see the regime being toppled. I just don't want to see. I don't want to see people die any more than they have. And I just know the fact is that more people are going to die to make this change real, and it should not be something that is controlled by the U.S. or any other country, other than if they're going to come in and help the Iranian people, get on their feet their way and build a system their way, not in the way that serves the interests of the other countries who are peripheral to this issue.
there
That's
is
what I
a
don't want to see.
well, people are going to die. This is a war now. This is like
Yeah.
literally
Yep.
this is a war. A
Yeah.
26-year-old Iranian, his name is Erfan Soltani, is facing execution. And when we say tomorrow, right now, what time is it
Yeah.
here? It's 5. It's early morning hours.
Yeah.
It's early morning hours in Iran. And the president said today that if you execute your protesters, you are going to face, I want to tell what the exact
Yeah.
words are. He said you're going to face some pretty strong response from the US. Having said that, last week he said, if you shoot protesters, we will shoot back. Did he not say that? I remember him saying
Yes, he
that.
did.
Okay.
Yes, he did.
And he said, if you kill protesters, we're there and we're going to defend the people. So I'm now looking at we're January 13th,
Yep.
13th.
Yep.
So,
13th. Yep.
okay. So this started on the December 30th ish. So
So people have already died, and where is everyone? Where is everyone? That's what I said. I'm concerned about. It's one thing to say those things, but once you say them and you don't commit action, then the regime doesn't take you seriously, and then what do the people start to think? And that's even more disheartens them, or they realize they're in the fight alone, and that's what's unfortunate. While the rest of the West, as I said, sits around and plays political games, and I understand there are costs and consequences for everybody who's involved in a war, but it is the right thing to do to help protect this tremendous country of people who 90% plus don't want to see that regime be there.
I, again, am not a complete expert. I am the journalist that brings the news every day and tells you what's happening, and we have conversations. I don't see this president, this particular president that is in office, saying something that I don't care what political side you're on. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying this
Yeah,
particular personality of a president to come and say such bold things and not delivering on it. My
yeah,
my guess would have been is that this is so complicated and there are so many meetings, as you said, that are happening right now, so many countries and things that are involved to figure out what's going to happen next. You can't just go to Iran and just like start blowing up things. Like how, what does that even look like?
yeah. I mean, the collateral damage alone
And the
would be
people are
insane. I
in
mean,
the
that doesn't
street right
solve it.
now. Like, how do you do
Yeah,
that? How do
you
you,
can't.
somebody sent a comment, said just drop a bomb already. I'm like, what do you mean drop a bomb already? That's not what you do. There's people out on the
Yeah,
street, and there are people. Somebody was asking that they don't know what's happening in Iran. There is video getting out that there's people still
yeah,
on the streets, like in
yeah,
massive amounts,
yeah,
despite all that's been happening. They're done.
yeah.
They are done,
I've
Rick. They're
seen.
done.
Yeah, the video that I've seen through people I know, some of my Iranian friends have been. I mean, to see what's taking place, it looks like these people are ready to fight. And here's the other thing: if they hang this individual in a few hours, because it's almost morning there in Iran,
Erfan. His
that
name is
that's going
Erfan. I want to say his
airfine.
name
Yeah, yeah,
because he's 26 and he's
yeah,
young and he's handsome. And all
yeah,
he was doing was trying to protest and
yeah,
do what we do and want to have happiness and have a free life.
yeah. Well, I will tell you that, and and that's he should be, as he should be able to. He should be able to do that and be able to voice his concerns, as should every citizen who lives in Iran. If they execute him as well as anyone else, it's going to fan the flames even further. I don't think it's going to. This is the time, as opposed to the previous times when people started seeing people being hung or shot. People kind of went back in the rooms a little bit. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I'm like you, Shelley. I think, and in many ways, I feel like this could be a time when I don't know what the change could look like yet. That's something that have to let things play out a little further. Unlike you, I don't believe in giving misinformation. I'd rather wait and let things work out, and make sure I talk to people who I know on my end who still work in the business and still deal with intel work. And so, um, but we all know that normally when people start feeling desperate, and they start seeing their friends hurt, or people they know, or people who families, they usually at some point you go, we have to fight. And then when that comes, there's no way that the Iranian, the Revolutionary Guard or anyone could stop millions of people coming after them. They don't have, that would be, they couldn't handle remember, if
Yeah.
everybody in Iran got up and said enough is enough, there's, there's no way they couldn't kill enough people to not be overwhelmed.
Bruce, who's not here right now, said
Yeah,
the same exact thing. He said if they go through with this execution of Erfan, and by the way, for those who may not be familiar with this Islamic regime in Iran, those are my choice words when I
yeah,
speak about them. I
yeah,
try not to say the Iranian government as much as possible because
yeah,
this is the Islamic regime in Iran,
yeah,
fanatical Islamic
yeah,
regime.
yeah,
Um, they all the almost 20,000 people who've reportedly been arrested. I mean, probably most of them, I mean, they'll just be in jail for a very long time, or most of them will face executions. Like they
yeah,
execute people um like a daily thing, like public executions.
yeah,
You know what I heard today? This is going to be very disturbing. And I'm going to share this, but again, I get so much information, Rick, and I see so many things, and I
yeah,
can only share like 2% of it,
yeah,
right? Because I
yeah,
can't confirm. But as friends here who are sitting and just having a conversation, I heard that the families that went to go pick up the bodies of their children or whoever were killed in the past,
yeah,
and somebody had just posted if it's really 12,000 people, which I think it's much higher, that's literally four 9/11s. That's
yeah,
four 9/11s, the amount of people that have died.
yeah,
And that was just in 48 hours. That's why they turned off the internet so they can just slaughter.
yeah,
When they went to go pick up their bodies, Rick, they said that they had to bring shirini, which is sweets and pastries, in order to get their child's body back,
yeah,
or pay an astronomical amount of money in order to retrieve the body. So they're not even
yeah.
releasing the bodies to the families. Like this is the mentality of the things. I don't, you can't call them people, the things that we're
Yeah.
dealing with.
Well, the frightening part about that, I mean, so just a very basic human level, which again, we just say they're not humans. They're not even don't even deserve to be called animals. Is how do you look at your own people in the face and kill your own people? It just belies me how these people can justify the actions they commit to kill their own people. It just And you keep wondering, is there ever going to be a crisis of consciousness where they realize that what they're doing is wrong, and they will make a turn and change and do something that that is also one of the plausible possibilities of things that could happen, is if the military, those who are in the military who serve, uh, if they decide to not follow anymore, uh, that could also be a potential uh, step in a right direction for change in the country.
You talk
The
about that
more,
military today. The Crown Prince, Reza Pahlavi, in his recent message, which I shared it on my social media, specifically addressed the army and
Mhm,
said, "You have a responsibility to the people of Iran, not to the Islamic regime, to the people of Iran, and to protect and defend them. If enough of them defected, if enough of them would stand with the people, I mean, this would have a very fast ending." And
absolutely. Well, I
and
mean,
you know
and I,
they're not, most of these people, Rick, are not from Iran. The ones that are killing. I
yeah,
mean, some of them are, but you know they're not.
nope. A lot of them are from a lot of other places. And the other, and the unfortunate part about this is that, well, the potential for part, what you just mentioned is certainly essential in the discussion about the possibility of defection and what that would help, if that would help be part of the pattern of change that we want to see to begin in the country. The other part, though, is the fact that, as you mentioned, many people don't realize that there are a lot of non-Iranians who serve in the military there who don't care about the Iranian people, who are just there as mercenaries, if you would. Um, and that's what they do. They work for money, and they get paid to do what they do, and not to ask questions. And that's what the regime has insulated itself with. Um, I also think, though, it's interesting to note that even the clerics there that are moderates have been not spoken up much, and it's unfortunate because it's really for Muslims around the world. It's unfortunate because again they profane Islam in a way that it was never meant to be profaned, and to do this in the name of Allah or in the name of God is hypocrisy. And how the more moderate thinking. Uh, mullahs or the religious leaders in the country, how they see themselves and how they don't seem to be speaking up about the type of how this regime hides behind that, is really, it doesn't help the cause either. And I think that's part of the problem as well. The moderate religious groups are not religious leaders are not speaking up, probably for fear of reprisal or death, but they are there. I mean, I was talking with, again, my colleague who's one of his family members is one of those people, and they're just afraid. They're afraid to open their mouths, and but these little things like this are the seeds of making change permanent, by having those people speak up, by giving people a different vision of that this is not God's will, what this leadership is doing to the people in their country. That this is not the will of Allah, it's not the will of God, it's not the will of anybody other than people who are power hungry and using whatever they can to control the masses in the country. That's it. Um, it gets to be emotional after a while because you just can't explain it away. You know, like, how do we do this to one another?
Yeah. I mean, this has to be like the purest. I shared this a few days ago, like the purest form of evil. Like
Yeah.
nothing of this is kind. It's nothing of this is love. Nothing of this is, what are we doing to ourselves on this planet? They just,
Well, the irony of that, Shelley, is that if people think about it this way, there are a handful. I mean, I say handful, I mean literally, but I mean literally, you're talking about 1% or less of people who are making these decisions for the other 99% of us,
I
and
know.
we let that 1% dictate and control us. So
Well,
whether it's Iran or any other country, the fact that you let one leader or a leader and their group of corrupted friends be able to control millions and millions of people. It's just mind numbing to think that we allow that to take place. A handful of people. That's really all it is, a handful of people who are making this decision that other people are following, and they killed thousands of people. It's
and
just,
and usually in the name of religion, and that is a whole side conversation of how
yeah,
many hundreds and thousands of years in the name of religion there is just constant killing and killing and killing and killing and killing, you know.
yeah,
um
yeah.
and the belief,
Even the
especially with
Crusades,
these.
even the Crusades, the Crusades,
Yeah.
they killed hundreds of thousands of people
Uh-huh.
in the name of God. You know, it was like, when did God tell anybody to do this? It's amazing how people forget the love and love one another part of it, and they just take the other parts and they allow themselves to be subverted by misinformation. It's sad.
Yeah. I
So
was
it's not just Islam that has this issue. Believe me, it's a
No, I
lot
mean,
of other
all
religions that use
religion.
it
Look,
too.
I've shared my religion is love. That's where my
Yeah,
religion lies. And I respect all religion. We can have a whole nother conversation
yeah,
about, for some, like, I think it does good. I think it does
yeah,
good for some. But when it is abused, when it goes like too sideways, like, I don't know, when they get to heaven, is that where they're
yeah,
going? And they realize that there's not 72 virgins waiting for them with like plates of food. I would just love to just be like on the wall just watching like that moment.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
but
hopefully, if there is a hell, they're not going to. Hopefully, they won't see heaven. Hopefully, they won't. If
well,
there is one, hopefully, they
no,
won't
but
see it.
but you know what the interesting, and I bring this up, Rick, because I was talking to my mom about this. They believe that at their core.
Yeah,
Just like we're sitting here and we're fighting on for freedom, like we believe it, and this is our truth. Like, how could anybody want to do anything besides live like this?
yeah,
We're dealing with people that have a very different truth, and their truth
yeah,
is die for the religion where we
yeah,
value our lives. I don't want to
yeah,
die. Who wants to die? I want to live. I want to be with my babies. I want
yeah.
I want to eat food and
Yeah.
dance and party and hug and right. We just
And
are
that's the way
val.
Iran used to be, Shelley. That even though I'm, and again, I'm not saying that
Thank you for
that
saying that.
yeah, I mean that's what it was, and I mean I'm not saying the Shah was perfect. I'm not. I understand the history, and there's lots of complications there. But Iran was relatively free, and when people could do that, and they could be who they wanted to be, and they could act the way they needed to act, and it was a different. I mean, and to think that it has become what it's become in a very short period of time, is historically speaking, is really just means that it doesn't have this current regime doesn't have enough longevity to not be able to be undone and replaced with something better for the people. And whether whatever democracy looks like for the Iranian people is what it should be, not whatever that looks like for them, not what it looks like for us.
I have only known this Iran. I mean,
Mhm.
my age, if you want to calculate it, go ahead and calculate it. I have only known this Iran. I see and I hear of a beautiful Iran before that. Every time I see Iranians pre 78 and their beautiful outfits and the way that they smiled and danced and the music and their freedoms. My mom was born and raised in Iran. My dad
Yeah,
born and raised in Iran. So I see and hear a lot of things, and I hope that the day comes. I shouldn't even say I hope anymore. I think I'm going to put that word aside.
yeah,
I know that day is coming.
yeah,
I know that day is coming. And
yeah,
watching these brave heroes uh, battle with their hands and rocks and whatever they could find when they had machine guns and things just pointed shooting from drones. And I hear that they were saying that they were like literally hunting them. They're standing there just
yeah,
taking people out. I heard a
yeah,
voicemail today, Rick, that two. One, a father went to go get medicine for his 3-year-old daughter. His 3-year-old daughter was shot and killed. And I just, the wailing sound of his, and he was showing the picture of his little girl. And in Farsi, hey, I know you don't understand Farsi, but
yeah,
"Hey, bemiram bare un qiyafat." Like any parent, like you just watch that and you lose it. You just,
yeah,
you can't. And there was
yeah,
another family. as these stories are starting to come out now of all these, a 15-year-old kid, they only had one. He usually hung out with 24 young kids, and they were out in the streets, and they went forward thinking that because they were kids, they wouldn't shoot them. And the voice messages that I heard is that they shot all 24 of these kids and killed them. That's the voice message. And they had one son, this particular family, and they lost their 15-year-old son. So it's devastating. I'm sorry to every single person over the past few weeks. I'm looking at so many comments, Rick. I know you
Yeah.
don't see them. My Instagram is still running, and Facebook. There's so many comments coming up of people that just they haven't been able to sleep. They still can't get a hold of their family. I share the anxiety, like just
Yeah.
constantly checking phone, what happened, what's going on, waiting for something to change. And right now, all eyes and ears are on President Trump after his comment today that help is on the way and encouraging those protesters to continue to protest and take over their institutions and save the names of your killers. They will pay in a big way. I have all of his words memorized. And that help on the way, we are all waiting to see what that help is. You know, a journalist asked him today, what is that help? Did you hear
Yeah.
that? Did you hear what he
Yep.
said?
And
Did you hear
he's
what he said?
well, I can't say right now. We'll just kind of play it off
He
like, well,
said,
I'll
you're
get
going
back
to
to you
have
on
to,
that, you know?
he said, you're going to have to figure that one out.
Yeah.
So,
Which is which is what worries me.
but
And
maybe, I
I'm
mean,
not
what is he
laughing
going
because
to
it's
do?
funny. I'm laughing because I'm worried about that. What he
But
said
is,
was very much,
but what is he going to say? Is he going to put out his plan and tell them so that those things over there have time to prepare for whatever they're going to do? Isn't part of it a surprise element?
well,
They did
well,
warn
yeah,
all
you
U.S. citizens to get out of Iran yesterday.
Well, first of all, the two things what I would say. First of all, I'm sure he doesn't even know at this point what the plan is. He's going to sit down and talk to the people in the in the government who are responsible for this stuff, and they'll give him a list of options that he'll have to either go with or not go with. Um, so I would say at this point he probably doesn't know what that plan is, and then he'll have to incorporate that plan with the plan of the allies to see what makes sense. And I'm sure he'll be weighing in with Russia and China, other peripheral players too. So it could be if several days before anything transpires, because even if what we hope doesn't happen in the next few hours doesn't happen. Um, if it does, he's going to have to. His words. I mean, the Iranian people will just. I mean, he will put the world in a very precarious position if he doesn't follow through in some type of action. It would be bad. Wouldn't be will be bad for him and be bad for
Uh,
the Iranian people.
he's not going to do that, Rick. He's not going to do that. And I want us.
I'm
We've
hope
been with
so. I
this.
hope you're right,
We've
Sally.
been with this regime for 47 years now, so it's very hard for us to digest what is happening. Like it feels so unreal. It
Yeah.
feels so. Every time I'm sitting on the news desk and I'm reading this, I'm like, am I really saying these words out loud? I just never thought this day. Well, actually, yeah, I did think this day would come. I did
Well,
think this
but
day
here's
would
the
come.
thing, though. But they did say, like I did. This is the biggest revolt since the 1979 revolution. That led to the overthrow of the regime. So that brought in the Ayatollah Khomeini. So this is the biggest pushback against this regime in 47 years. So this could be a real telling time. Uh, to see what change is going to really look like, and I think it's going to take a few more days and days going forward that we'll be seeing. And hopefully in that time, we'll be able to come back here and update your followers on what's going on, hopefully with better news, but at least keep them abreast of what's going on and how the outside world is seeing it. I think it's really important, whenever we can, to be able to keep them abreast. So hopefully we can.
I don't usually follow like the whole Chinese calendar, lunar, new
Yeah.
that stuff. But the
Yeah.
zodiac thing, again, I don't follow. I'm a horse.
Yeah.
And
Well,
this year I had goosebumps at the beginning of the year when I
mm,
read somebody had posted it and I said, "Oh my gosh, like this is the year of the horse and it's the year of the fire horse." And that year comes around every 60 years. And that represents change and big bold moves. And this reminded me of these exact, we're 13 days into 2026, Rick. We
Yeah,
haven't even
yeah,
started the year. And look at this. The
yeah,
demand for change from the people of Iran, and we're watching it all unfold right before our eyes.
yeah. And I think it's it's Iran, it's around the world. As you mentioned earlier, the world is in a very stressful place, and it's been stressed for a very long time. I think that's put a lot of pressure on people everywhere in the world. I think people feel it, and unfortunately it translates out to a lot of unfortunate feelings, and people respond in certain ways that may not be so positive always. But I will say that everybody's looking for some kind of change in a positive direction, that with some sense of humanity and a sense of fairness, and we the people have to demand it, and we should press upon our leaders of whatever country you happen to reside in to be able to support humanitarianism and support the people in these countries who are being abused by their leaders, no matter where it is, Iran or any what place else in the world.
We have shared a lot of tears. I know for many of you who are watching, thank you for watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. This will be posted on there. And for Instagram, for all of you that hung out here, even though you really couldn't see Rick, I'll show you Rick one more time. Rick, say hi to everybody. That's Rick
Hey, everyone.
Epps. That's Rick Epps. So if you want to watch this full interview, you can go there. I was just saying, we've shared a lot of tears. I cry and then I get strong, and then I cry and then I feel stronger. And I end this conversation with you, Rick, today with so much strength. I am so inspired. I'm hurting to see so many who have lost their lives, and families that are now going to have to start burying so many. I can't even imagine their children. But the strength of what I have seen of the Iranian people just has taken my breath away. And I know
Yeah,
that, and with that, I'm going to end this conversation on uh, that kind of note, and try to push that energy of strength to them. They're going to need it for the next few days
yeah,
until this help arrives,
yeah,
until we wait to see what this help is, and they can
yeah.
finally find some peace in their life.
Yeah, I send my blessings and prayers to them for their safety and the safety of their loved ones, and I will hopefully we'll be able to hear their voices and hear the changes that we all want to see come forward in the future. And thank you for being a part of that, Shally, for being a voice and letting me have this moment to have the conversation with you today. And I look forward to us doing it again at some point.
We will do it again. Thank you for reaching out. You're the one that reached out to me. I want to make that very clear. I've just been all over the place, and Rick messaged me and said, let's do this. And every time a non-Iranian, and I'm saying it because I'm seeing people saying thank you, and they're thanking you for doing this. A non-Iranian, it feels good when other people step in and they say, "We're here, we got you." And we're starting to see that now. It took like a minute, but we're starting to see more and more people stepping in. And you have always been one of those that have been in that front seat with us, talking about so many things that have been building to this particular moment. You and I are going to look back one day. We will be in Rasht, not Tehran, because
Yep,
my family's from Rasht, and we're
yep,
going to be sharing a meal over there, and we're going to look back on all these conversations and really be able to see what this building happened over 47 years, and especially the last 15 years, and sit in a very free and beautiful Iran. And I can't wait to show you Iran. I really
yep,
haven't seen it myself all that much, so I can't wait to show it to you as well. I'm sure there are a lot of Iranians that will be waiting for you to show you their beautiful Iran.
yeah. And I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait to share a meal with you and your family, Shally.
Thank you, Rick Epps. You are
Yeah.
amazing. Stay close to me.
Thank you all.
Something's going to go down in the next like 24 to 48 hours. I can feel it.
Yeah. Okay, text me anytime. I'm reachable. And I pray for all of you. Be safe and be bold. Be
Be
bold.
bold. I love that, Rick. Thank you. All right. We're going to give Rick a moment to sign off there. And with that, I tried to get some of your Comments up. That was Rick Epps. He's a Middle East specialist. He is our political professor. We have spent many, many hours over the past few years with the protests when Masa Amini happened, the Women Life Freedom. And he has sat here and talked to me a lot about Iran and all the knowledge. He studied Iran for many, many years. So I feel very grateful to have people like him and many other experts that can come and share their thoughts with us. I am so sorry. I have no other words but to say I am so sorry. Tasliat migam. My condolences to any of you who could be watching right now who have lost family members. I was reading somewhere today that they were saying that now it's like everybody in Iran knows somebody who has been killed in some way or injured or arrested from what has happened in the past 2 weeks. I know they're not here, and I hope one day we will have the opportunity. مینا جون من اگزاستشن من اصلا بگو در به داغونه بد جوری مثل شما مثل هر کسی مثل شماها اصلا نه خوابی هست نه کاری هست حالا we're trying to still keep the kids normal بچه ها میبینن که we're not okay hey میگن what's wrong mommy and we're trying to keep them in normalcy and keep us in normalcy. So yes, I'm very tired and lots of tears and lots of sadness. متاسفانه یه چیزایی من دیدم تو این 2 هفته که I don't think من هیچ وقت از مغزم نمیتونم در بیارم. Like it's troubling. خیلی اذیت شدم. خیلی اذیت شدم. Just as much as you guys are. It's hard being on this side that you want to help. All of us want to help and we don't know how to help, but we're trying to help and it's very hard. It's very hard. It's very hard. So I know you are going through hard. You're going through it as well. I don't need to explain it to you. حالا منو بذار کنار من اصلا کسی نیستم با دردای شماها. I've heard تو این مدت انقدر داستانای شما بر من توضیح دادین و تعریف کردین, especially those who are from Iran, inside of Iran. انقدر ما دوست داریم توی ایران پیدا کردیم توی این مدت, توی این برنامه بریز و بپزه که من داشتم انقدر باشون آشنا شدم و صحبت کردم. الان یه مدتی الان توی این 2 هفته که خبری ازشون نیست و دیگه داغونیم. What can we say? I mean, I don't know. به من بگو, what do we say at this time? The only thing that I know I can say is I am so proud. I am so proud of the Iranian people and the people in Iran, مخصوصا جوونا, and then the older people, and then the younger people. I just saw something from Iranian people that I knew that it always existed. For the first time, we really can see. ببین من بهتون, not in English, my American friends, my non-Persian friends, I've been telling you how amazing Iranian people are. And you are seeing now what they are all about. And I will end with this comment and I'm going to head off because I need to work on breaking news, which, by the way, Farda, I have an interview with Princess Noor. It's going to air on Fox 5. I had an interview with her just a few hours ago, and I will share it on Fox 5 tomorrow. I'm going. Hedia says, do you think Trump is going to help Iran? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So I think we're going to hear some stuff. This is just my opinion in the next few days. So we are all watching. I don't know more than you, but as soon as I hear, if I'm at work, I will share it with you. Please keep the stories alive. Every comment, every post, everything that you're doing, calling your senators, calling your congressmen, speaking about it. All hands on deck. Anything that we can do, هر کاری که ما میتونیم انجام بدیم از این طرف دنیا, it is our responsibility. It is our responsibility. No matter you speak Farsi, you don't speak Farsi. You've been to Iran, you don't be haven't been to Iran. If you are a human being, you have a responsibility to help somebody when they are calling for help. So I hope you will do that. I will end on this bright and hopeful thought. I know the day is coming very soon that all of you who are watching are going to go back to Iran and you're going to be with your family and friends, and you're going to take your friends there and show them the beautiful country that it is. And Iran will open its doors, its mighty, beautiful land, and become a part of the rest of the world, and and live in freedom and peace, and do steal friendship with all of us. I am so confident that day is coming. When? I don't know, but I know it's coming. I know we're going to see that day. King Haka said, after 47 years of hell, and you said it so well, after 47 years of hell, as darkness comes after darkness, there will always be light. There will always be light. With that, please take care of yourselves. I know this is a hard time. Sleep, eat, love, be around your family, be around your friends. And we look forward to that day that we see light again. Love you all. I will see you back on the morning news early tomorrow morning. And if anything happens while I am awake in the next few hours, I will definitely share it with you. Be good to each other, everybody. Bye.